Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. I hope you had a great weekend, ladies and gentlemen. I sure did. But before we start this video, I want to talk to you about this afternoon. We're going to have a live stream with Layman Prepping on his channel. And during that live stream, I will more than likely announce the winners of the OUPES 600 Exodus and the OUPES 1800 that was a giveaway from last month's OUPES promotion. I'll also announce it on this video this coming Friday during our live stream for anyone that misses Layman's live stream this afternoon. If you haven't attended one of those live streams, we have a great time. It's nothing really scripted. We just have a lot of fun with everyone that joins in. If you hear noises in the background like fans and air purifiers running, ladies and gentlemen, we're having a whole bunch of really nasty fires all over Alaska. Take a look at this. This is the map of the fires all over Alaska, and in and around the Fairbanks area or North Starborough area, these fires are just consuming this area with smoke. So I've got my air purifier on high, so if you hear a buzzing sound, that's probably what it is. This is usually the time of year that we get fires. I'm going to show you some of that footage because we actually had to drive by some really big fires and saw some cool things that I've never seen before. But anyways, that'll be in a video to come where I share my adventure on the maiden voyage of our new RV that we purchased here not too long ago. Well, not necessarily new, but stand by for that. Now, what I want to talk about today is, if you all remember watching the video where I was talking about where they're saying we're going to have major food shortages, these soil specialists are saying that some countries have no more harvest left because of the deterioration or the depletion of the minerals and substance in their soil. And then I came up and said, well, why don't we just use here in the US, if we're going to have that same excuse that the soil that we have to grow our food is just not good enough anymore, why don't we use some of the land that our federal government has under lock and key, i.e. national parks, etc. You know where I'm going with that. And then I mentioned that there is a very large portion in the United States of America of land that's i.e. owned by the federal government. Why can't we use that land with nice fertile soils to keep humanity going? And upon watching that, one of our community members, thank you very much to Larry, who sent me this article about how we came this close and could still actually happen that our national lands are put on the New York Stock Exchange for anyone to own equity on them, whether it's a foreign entity or people like Bill Gates or BlackRock, etc. So let's read on. That way we can be informed. So if you ever hear something like this, you're not like, oh my goodness, that's fake news. Ladies and gentlemen, do you put anything beyond the reach of the federal government anymore in order for them to save themselves and keep the power that they already have over we the people? And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave the link to this article on a pinned comment. If you really want to support what I do in bringing these kinds of things forward, which are not very popular in YouTube land, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and give this video a like and share with someone and leave a nice comment down below. America's federal lands were set to be listed on the stock exchange before the proposed rule was yanked. Your government was fixing to auction off your real estate, including national parks, farmlands, precious ecosystems, and natural resources to the highest bidder. You know how I'm always telling you, hey, this is going on right now, but what's really going on? Because right now they're exposing what's on their right hand and going, hey, look at this, look at this. But what are they doing with their left hand, ladies and gentlemen? This is something that I've never heard about. But it kind of makes sense, because when a country is already bankrupt and its government wants to keep its power over the people, it will do anything, even if it means forsaking the oath that they took to we the people, and more importantly, to the Constitution of these United States. According to a recent report by Ms. Elizabeth Nixon, there was a new federal rule set forth by the Securities and Exchange Commissions, the SEC, ladies and gentlemen, this past October, set to be implemented in November of this year, coming up. Incredible. This rule will have seen public federal lands, including national parks and wildlife refuges, traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Here are the details from Nixon. And we'll go over those a bit, but remember again, I will leave the link listed so that you can come and revisit this. And you're in luck, ladies and gentlemen, because this is not a very long read. Another way that you can help the channel is by letting this go all the way through. And here she writes, if not stopped, on November 17th of this year, the U.S. government will pass a rule that allows for America's protected lands, including parks and wildlife refuges, to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange Natural Asset Companies, NAC. Do you remember how Ms. Lynette Zhang is always talking about that everything is going to be digitalized or tokenized, and how that guy from the WEF says that you will own nothing and be happy? I think this is probably part of how the very select few want to take over the world. Oh, AP, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Well, look it up for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, before you start talking that kind of nonsense. And listen to this. These stocks that can be bought will mainly be owned by managed and traded companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, and even China. On October 4th, the Securities and Exchange Commission filed a proposed rule, to create the NACs. A 21-day comment period was allowed, which is only half of the minimum that is allowed, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, these people care not for the rule of law. Let's see. NACs will allow BlackRock, Bill Gates, and possibly even China to hold the ecosystem rights to the land, water, air, and natural processes of the properties enrolled in NACs. Each NAC will hold management authority over the land. When we are issued carbon allowances, listen, when we are issued carbon allowances, owners of said lands will be able to claim tax deductions, meaning that they'll be able to burn more carbon than you because you don't hold this, ladies and gentlemen. That's why they're saving these lands and keeping us away from them so that they can sell them off and they can play their little carbon games and be in control of humanity, i.e. we the people. Anyways, I'll start again. When we are issued carbon allowances, owners of said lands will be able to claim tax deductions and will be able to sell carbon allowances to businesses, families, and townships. In the simplest of terms, that's where the money will be made. We peons will be renting air from the richest people on earth. Let me give you an example of how this will work. All right, so AP loves to eat beef, right? I love to eat beef, but now under the new rules, I'm only going to be allowed, 3 pounds of beef per month. Okay. I go through that 3 pounds of beef in the first 2.5 or 3 days, right? So how does AP get more beef? Well, do I have any credits left in my little digital wallet that they issued me with the new CBDC? Hey, it looks like I do have some credits left. So what do I do now? I go to the open market where carbon tokens are sold, or carbon allowances are sold from people that have excess carbon, and that's going to be kind of like the new real money, right? So they can sell their excess carbon that they haven't used up because they own stock in these natural lands. And now I can go out there and buy more carbon tokens, and now I can go out there and buy more beef. That's how they're going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, if they get away with it. So what does this all mean? Let's hear it from them and see if it matches what I told you. Well, for one, it means that the management agencies like the Forest Service or Bureau of Land Management will no longer be the custodians and decision makers, but the NAC and whichever stockholder has the most control, like Bill Gates' farmland buying scheme just got a whole lot more macroscopic. First of all, why does the federal government have any land? Should this land be held by their respective states in which it sits? Exactly. This land should be held by the states. It belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to the federal government. This is what happens when we have a fiat currency, ladies and gentlemen. It gives the federal government the power over the states and the people. Whereas if we have sound money and it limits the government to what it can do, it is we the people that have the power. Yes, it always comes back to real money because fiat currency is what powers the evil institution known as the current government, not only of this nation, but of almost every nation in the world. And take a look at the lands that are going to be traded in the stock exchange or be part of these NACs that they're talking about. National parks, national wildlife refuges, wilderness areas, areas of critical environmental concern, conservation areas on private and federal lands, endangered species, critical habitat. Remember, we got to save the toad, right? And the Conservation Reserve Program, which amounts to, here it says, about 640 million acres of our land, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the good news part of this article. Actually, it's great news. To be clear, Reuters reported in January that the New York Stock Exchange withdrew its request to establish the NAC designation for now. Yet, tyrannical and unconstitutional rules, once proposed, are like bed pennies. They'll crop up somewhere. So let this serve as a warning that this criminal land grab isn't a dead idea, but simply on ice. They will wait for a more opportune time, or a time when they can take this little bill and shove it into a bill that has 12,000 pages, and we'll know nothing about it until the day that it actually appears on the New York Stock Exchange, ladies and gentlemen. I've been telling you to prepare for a very long time. I believe that in the end, it will come down to a fight. Because when a monster has so much power, like the federal government does, it's not going to give up that power. The power will not be given up voluntarily. It's going to have to be taken from it. Unfortunately, I don't want this to be, but it must. Is there a solution? They say yes, there is, and it's called nullification. Get your state legislators and governors to stand up to the federal government. I've been talking about this forever, that the way that we the people win is to have a strong state government, a strong state governor that is there for the people, for the country, and that can say no to the federal government, especially when it comes to those things that are unconstitutional. You see, there may be some things that are constitutional that the federal government can do, but if it does not do any good for a state, if it hinders a state, the state should be allowed to say, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. It hinders us. Yes, I know that that extra tax that you're going to charge us is going to go to this other state so that they can do these programs and stuff, and it's going to help them, but it's not going to help us, right? Just making stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. But even if it's not, or even if it is, constitutional, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be good for every single state. That is why this country is these United States of America, when it was for the people. And now it is the United States of America, when it is we the people that work for the government. And I know a lot of you just got triggered, but that's just a fact. We the people work for the government. We keep the government in power by feeding the monster. By nullifying any bureaucratic federal rule that would see those lands handed off to private third parties, we, the states, we the people, would win. It's great to be back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you got something out of this. Just keep your eyes out for this and continue to prepare, because in the end, what's going to happen, it's going to happen. Other than that, I hope to see you later on this afternoon. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.